Counter-narrative news bringing you daily news today on Wednesday the 17th of May 2023. The Turkish elections have just taken place and the opposition is claiming thousands of ballots have not been properly counted. In the Turkish election, the anti-refugee type of policies and rhetoric is basically apparent on both sides, by the secular Republicans and also by Erdogan's Islamist ruling party. The Syrian refugee crisis has been weaponized and instrumentalized by both sides in this election, and Erdogan has frequently threatened to weaponize migrants in his complaints and irritations with the European Union. However, Erdogan has also facilitated the refugee flow by his own leadership in facilitating and leading tens of thousands of supremacist death squads into Syria for ramping up and making much more devastating and traumatic the conflict in Syria. Also, there's an interesting Russian dynamic to the possible outcomes of this election. Whereas Erdogan is a regional and global player pushing back against Chinese and Russian influence, especially in the Central Asian Turkic regions and states and communities, he nevertheless also is in part in collaboration with the Russian leadership, with recent reports indicating that Erdogan has facilitated Daesh-type death squads to the Russian side of the conflict in Ukraine as a result of the Russian colonial invasion there. So Erdogan losing this election, which seems unlikely, would be a blow to Putin as well and would turn Turkey somewhat even more anti-Western. But of course Erdogan is also, forgive oneself, if Erdogan loses, it would turn the opposition coming into power to become more pro-Western. Erdogan himself is also pro-Western, but he pushes his own particular political project and the interests of the Turkish state, which is also a former colonizing power, especially under the Ottomans. And Erdogan continues to take his advantages throughout Central Asia and the Middle East and Arab world and across Africa. Going over to Toxteth, which is a historic black and working class community in Liverpool in the northwest of England. Some people call it the capital of Ireland because of the massive Irish diaspora and Irish heritage grassroots communities there. 62-year-old black resident of Liverpool and Toxteth, Leroy Cooper, has passed away. Leroy Cooper is significant in the 1981 black grassroots-led uprising against the racist state and particularly policing, when Leroy Cooper came to the defense of another protester and they both suffered police brutality, sparking greater anger and resentment, leading to a very powerful uprising. Also, Leroy Cooper documented the grassroots lives of the communities there by taking hundreds of thousands of photos celebrating the beauty of our grassroots. But from the 1981 uprising till today, all manner of members of the British Empire and members of Her Majesty's Parliament are all claiming that they are celebrating Leroy Cooper's life. That may be so. However, we would argue that it's those who are loyal to the grassroots, who are not seeking a colonial career and titles, that should continue the path of struggle of those uprisings to the growing same challenges of racist policing and the racist state, which is oppressing and exploiting and putting increasing pressure on the entire grassroots working class communities. On this day in 1959, Antiguan heritage black resident of Notting Hill, Ladbroke Grove, Kelso Cochrane, is killed in a racist attack because he dared, in the eyes of the white supremacist violent racists, to have a relationship with a white woman. This racist killing led to so-called quote-unquote race riots in Ladbroke Grove, Notting Hill. However, this was the militant black grassroots resistance against racism, which helped to defeat the organized racists in the area and to create a relative social peace, allowing the black community to continue its struggles through the 60s and 70s, including uprisings, including the hub of revolutionary resistance, which was the restaurant, the Mangrove, and the connected criminalized Mangrove 9, who were part of the leadership of the grassroots resistance. Also on this day, in 1649, the 17th of May 1649, one of the leaders, well, the most significant historical leader of the English Civil War, Oliver Cromwell, executes 3 members of the radical poor peasant-based movement of the Levellers for organizing mutinies against Cromwell's colonial violent expeditions of colonization against the Irish people and the Irish nation. Cornet Thompson, Corporal Perkins, and Private Church were all murdered or executed by Cromwell for having dared to organize an anti-colonial movement against Cromwell. The Levellers are very interesting, largely the British working class who have internalized and who lap up increasingly vicious white supremacy, racism, colonialism, know very, very little about their own working class struggles, even a couple of generations ago, let alone in the mid-17th century. It's quite interesting, actually. It's the radical black grassroots, i.e. the third world diaspora, who have come to the colonial centre, including England and Britain, who are actually involved disproportionately in promoting and popularising the actual revolutionary and radical traditions of the British workers and peasants in the framework of anti-colonial socialist and a struggle for the equitable redistribution of land and wealth. That's Counter-Narrative News. Wishing everyone a fantastic evening, and please do continue to support us by encouraging your friends and contacts to subscribe to our YouTube channel and consider following us on Twitter at @counter_CNN. Many thanks.